Das deutsche Volk ist in so viele Kleinstaaten zerfallen, als es einzelne Menschen gibt. Und die einzelnen Staatsgebilde sind beweglich. Jeder trägt das Seine mit sich herum und verlangt eine Übertrittsgebühr, wenn er ein anderes betreten will.
So far in our movie night extravaganza canon, we have done 2 of Wim Wenders' films. Paris, Texas, and on Conan's birthday, the 5.5-hour ultimate road movie, Until the End of the World. We did Paris, Texas in 2021 in order to honor Dean Stockwell after he passed away. Paris, Texas is a pretty conventional road movie which has Dean Stockwell and Harry Dean Stanton playing brothers who set out across the Southwest. Harry Dean Stanton, playing Travis, is discovered wandering around West Texas in a fugue state and is mute. He loses consciousness, and a doctor calls his brother Walt, who he hasn't spoken to in years, and who has adopted his son, and they set out to reunite the son with his mother. After Paris, Texas was done, Wim Wenders returned to West Germany after 8 years in the United States, expecting to make Until the End of the World. However, he realized that the movie pre-production, which ended up filming in 35 locations in countries spanning from the US to Portugal, France, Russia, Japan, Australia, and Italy, would not be ready for a couple more years. Even though he had been working on Until the End of the World since 1977, Wim Wenders decided instead to make Wings of Desire. That's the movie we're going to be talking about tonight. Wings of Desire, more than anything else, is a love letter to Berlin. Wenders loves the poetry of Rainer Maria Rilke, a German poet whose poetry often contained images and encounters with angels.
And wandering through Berlin and sort of still religiously almost reading Rilke every evening, at least one poem, these poems are all populated, so to speak, by angels, lots of them.
After throwing out a bunch of ideas, Wenders decided suddenly that having guardian angels posted throughout the city of Berlin watching everyone could allow the film to see as many perspectives as possible. These angels could listen to people's thoughts, their innermost desires, wishes, and prayers.
And those were the characters I'd be looking for, because they could really be everywhere and appear everywhere, and they could cross through walls, could of course also cross through the wall. They could be omnipresent, and they would allow me to have this complete overview of the city.
However, Peter Henke, Wenders' friend and collaborator, wasn't sure he could write this story.
Perhaps it's a good idea, but if I would be an angel, I would like to become a human being, to see blood, to touch, to become mortal.
After I told him the entire thing, everything I knew, there wasn't all that much. Knew these angels, I figured we'd better have 2 than just 1, or even more. And I had a list of people, character that I wanted these angels to sort of visit and connect.
They came up with a compromise. Henke wrote out some prompts and monologues as ideas, but most of the movie would be improvised. Rather than dialogue between characters, most of the speaking in the film is done as monologuing, recorded over the scenes.
Erzählemuse vom Erzähler, dem an den Weltrand verschlagenen, kindlichen Uralten und machen ihm kenntlich den Jedermann.
However, the two angels, played by Bruno Ganz and Otto Sander, who have been together since the beginning of time watching over the world, do speak to each other quite frequently.
Beim Gehen das Knochengerüst und sich mitgehen spüren. Endlich ahnen, statt immer alles zu wissen. Ach und oh und ah und weh sagen können.
Ganz plays Damiel, who is sick of just observing and wants to tangibly experience the world. Damiel falls in love with a trapeze artist named Miriam, played by Solveig de Martin. He is allowed to stop being an angel, but will lose his immortality and ability to fly over the earth. Bruno and Otto brought in an older Jewish actor named Kurt Bois they had made a documentary about. Bois had left Germany during World War II and was in Casablanca.
And his name was Kurt Bois. And he played in one film, Casablanca, and a lot of films. He did small parts.
Peter Falk is also in the film, playing himself, coming to Germany to play a detective searching for a German family during World War II.
Ey, was, das ist Columbo? Nee, glaube ich nicht. Nee. Aber doch nicht mit dem schäbigen Mantel. Ja, stimmt. Der rennt doch hier nicht durch die Pampe.
However, he is also a former angel who convinces Damiel to try out human experience. The movie production was extremely freewheeling, with the cast, Henke, and Wenders collaborating constantly on the fly. This genre of filmmaking is called City Symphony. The original City Symphonies were often documentaries which attempted to capture a location and a moment in time. They were largely made in the 1920s, right before the first films with sound. The original City Symphonies were named for the orchestral music that would be played over them. They have inspired filmmakers like Godard and Woody Allen. However, neither Wings of Desire nor films like Manhattan or 2 or 3 Things I Know About Her can truly be considered City Symphonies. City Symphonies lacked a narrative, plot, or characters outside of the city. One last interesting choice is that the movie is filmed in both color and black and white. The black and white, which invokes the original City Symphonies, is what the angels see from their perspective. Wim Wenders believes black and white photography is the best way to express the essence of a subject.
It seemed to me that these metaphoric and poetic characters of angels, they could never exist in color. I don't know, I never really thought much about it. It was sort of obvious. I took it as a given from the beginning.
The human perspective, mostly embodied by Miriam and then Damiel as he becomes human, is color. Color shows the fullness of human experience. Wim Wenders filmed Wings of Desire just a few years before the Berlin Wall fell. He couldn't know it at the time, but it makes this City Symphony a perfect time capsule into an era of Berlin history.
Ist das rot?
Ja. Haben Sie sich verletzt?
Heute geht's gut.
Gut.
Und die Rohre?
Rohre sind gelb.
Gelb.
Ja.
Und der da?
Der ist graublau.
Graublau. Der?
Lila.
Der?
Der ist orange. Ocker.
Ocker? Oder orange?
Ocker.
Ocker. Gelb, rot.
Gelb, ja.
Der
ist grün.
Grün.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, let me say, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live show, send us a super chat. We are absolutely obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer it. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are available on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, host of Botanic Reversal, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Right now, Conan is working on Caterwaul 2023. Caterwaul Music Festival is going to be in Minneapolis from May 26th to 29th. Tickets are on sale now at caterwaul.org. Kristina Oakes, when she's not dog sitting, you can find her streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at @cosmopolitics. Throw her some subs on Twitch. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, comic designer, and artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and Bad Takes. Joe Cannon plays in the live band with Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends and is the vocalist and guitarist for Resurrectionists, which have a new album, Now That We Are All Ghosts, on Bandcamp. On Sunday, April 23rd, is the first inaugural Resurrectionist Film Fest, which is showing music videos by 6 filmmakers, including our own Conan Neutron. I, of course, am your no longer suffering after getting the tooth-pulled host, Forrest Miller, Movie Night Extravaganza's intro master, and poor man's wealthy dilettante. Let's let her rip.
Appreciate the update.
Yo, I love that the first guy he encounters when he transforms from an age. Of course, hello everybody, but I wanted to get this thought out there while it's still in my head. The first guy he encounters after becoming a human is just your classic NPC. Like he has the blood on his hand, and he's like, "Is that red?" And he's like, "Oh, did you hurt yourself?" And he's like, "And what color is that?" Like it's classic, like you respawn in a video game. And like the first guy you meet or something that's just like a townsperson, like that's the exact energy that you get.
Boy, I sure would like some coffee or whatever he says. And he's like, "Do you have any money for coffee?" And he's like, "No, not really." And he's like, "All right, here you go." Joe, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a great one, everyone. All right, call tonight.
I could use some coffee right now.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Do you have any money for coffee?
Yeah. So, Joe, I know you've seen this before because you have a song named after it.
Yes.
It's named after a line from it.
Right. Don't want to tell them about a girl.
Which is what Nick Cave, because the Angels, of course, can hear people's thoughts.
Right.
That's what stops it from being just like the all-time vibe movie with like no dialogue, as you hear like in this great style of the De Laurentiis Lynch Dune, people's thoughts, and the Angels are hearing them. And it's what Nick Cave thinks right before he contradicts himself to the audience. And says it's about a girl. Right. So I know you've seen it. And also because you picked it.
I did.
I know I've seen it because it's in my top 50 favorite movies. I wouldn't say it's necessarily my top 20. I'd have to re-examine. And I truly love it. I'm curious, Dramatic Nostril, Angelic Columbo, Ich spreche Deutsch. Have y'all seen Wings of Desire before?
I haven't. It's been on my Criterion challenge this month. So 2 weeks in a row, I got to knock off movies.
Check.
I actually saw the American remake, City of Angels, with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan.
Nick Cage! Nick Cage is in that. That's right.
Yep. Which inspired me to watch the actual German film because I was like, it's got to be better than this. Because I was telling my mom what movie we were doing. She was like, I never heard of, Wings of Desire. I'm like, City of Angels. She's like, Nicolas Cage? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, what about it? I'm like, it's basically the original version of that film, but in German.
I know that I saw it at one point, but I think I was so angry I ended up turning it off before finishing it because I just was like, first of all, how do you remake Wings of Desire? Secondly, how do you screw it up that bad? But anyway,
I just couldn't go through with it. But Wings of Desire is much, much better.
I watched the last 3 minutes of it on YouTube of City of Angels, and I had to turn it off because it was horrible.
Yeah, just the poster for it looks horrible. Like I haven't seen it, but like just looking at the poster, I'm like, oh, that's like classic like 90s movie, like early 2000s 90s movie. They're just trying to get shit out to get it out.
Nick Cage, Meg Ryan, great, it's a go. Like that kind of.
Well, then they're Angels, which isn't all bad.
I like how I like how in that little documentary about it, they had the director of City of Angels on, and first of all, he sounded like an idiot, and second of all, they had him on for like a total of maybe 20 words. They were like, I get, his publicist was on the horn. It's got to be in it.
All right, we'll put him in it. I think this is one of you said it. I can't remember who. It is kind of one of the all-time vibe movies, right? I mean. It is. I
just said it 20 minutes ago.
Man, you wouldn't believe the stuff I've done in the last 20 minutes. I'm a busy man.
you made a whole new movie with Nick Cage.
Apparently, yeah. Who knew? He's surprisingly available. I just messaged him on Instagram. No, that's not true. And I think I said when we did Until the End of the World that's my favorite. I think that's Wim Wenders' best work of art, but I think this is his best film. And I make that distinction. I make that distinction very. God, I shouldn't look at the comments. How long have I done this? I just don't look at the comments. because I think that's important distinction, because I think this is a fantastic film. And honestly, when I first saw it, I thought that the to be continued at the end, I was like, oh, how like metaphorical, how cool. And I was like, oh no, he actually made a sequel. Yep. And then I was like, I cannot think of any movie that less needs a sequel than Wings of Desire.
Well,
by all counts, it's fine. You know,
he made a sequel because Bruno Ganz wanted to keep being an angel, apparently, and he was just like enjoyed it. Like I guess the two of them enjoyed it so much walking around.
Yeah, they found the process. Well, and I guess and so my understanding, I can't remember if this is a documentary or not, but they since there wasn't a script, they sort of were just workshopping ideas back and forth, this and that, and basically the the guy that's not Bruno Ganz, the other fella, like had a whole other storyline that he came up with that like. That Wim Wenders loved, and like they're like, oh yeah, this movie's already too long. I can't fit that in.
It seemed to me like that whole sequence after the character kills himself, and he's like anguished by it, because there's this whole thing where there's this whole thing where Bruno's angel seems pretty free about like comforting or consoling people, and Cecile is always like, I'm just watching, I'm just viewing, I'm just reporting, I'm just testifying. And then I'm
just here to call balls and strikes.
Right. And then there's that one instance where it seems like he tries and the guy kills himself anyway. Yeah. And he kind of loses it. And then
all you really see at that point, he's like, oh, like he's like legit surprised when it happens, and then it's like on to something else.
Well, but
like, he jumps off the building too. And you see him go down and goes
him sort of suiciding, which becomes this. But which then becomes this kind of like fugue scene for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
And my sense of it was that was going to be the hook into him becoming human. Like that was going to be.
And apparently, I have not seen Far Away So Close, but apparently it centers around him becoming human and like doing crime. He's doing a lot of crime.
That's as much as I know about it.
Which if I was an angel and I became a human. Probably would be the road I would.
Let's do some crime. Yeah,
like I'm gonna go see like a rock concert and then fall in love. Yeah. It would probably be like, hey, I've seen enough people rob things by now that I have a foolproof plan.
And how it was described as like he's like driving around in fast cars because he's used to be able to get to places quickly and like surrounded by like beautiful women. And it was like, bro, this sounds like stuff you want to do. like it doesn't sound like your character would be that interested, but okay.
Well, the whole conceit of him turning into a human comes from Peter Hanke, just being like, well, if I was, and I had that I think in the intro, he's like, if I would want to become a human if I was an angel, which I don't know how you know that, but like it does.
Well, you see, I was once an angel myself.
Yeah, maybe he just talked to Peter Falk about it. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I have these are a couple minutes of deleted scenes that I grabbed.
Oh, cool.
So
which this movie's already pretty long, and I haven't seen any of these deleted scenes, but I feel like it makes sense that there would be extra stuff, right?
So. Yeah, well, they just literally walked around Berlin and tried to shoot things, and couldn't use anything. They had a lot of footage they couldn't use because people would look at the camera.
Yeah,
and they'd be like, "Oh, they looked at the camera. Now I can't use this," which is kind of
right. What exactly did you think was going to happen? Yeah,
they did have a nice workaround with some of it though. Like sometimes people would look at the camera and then they'd cut to like the angel, and I thought that was a clever workaround of people looking at the camera.
Yeah, but I think that the stuff that they cut for looking at the camera is like people are so obviously looking at the camera that it wasn't going to work out.
This is from the very beginning when the camera is just meandering through the city and ending especially on close-ups of children. Most of them are looking up into the sky, and this is one shot we didn't use with the back of an old VW.
That's a great shot.
This was a shot outside of the BMW showroom where the two angels meet. The two rock and roll musicians there They were both in Crime and City Solution, whom you see
It's
later
Roland
on
S. Howard and the other guy.
playing on stage.
This is when I decided to clip this part of it for this. I don't like the whole
We had some
36
fun
things.
with the
I like him just fucking around in front
invisibility
of
of
the
the
store.
angels in the very
Yeah.
beginning. And Otto loved
That's great.
mimicking people. This was preceding the actual scene that is now in the cut. Obviously, angels
I
can
love
get
that this is
into
just
any
classic like Harpo Marx
picture
hijinks.
Yeah.
because they do not expose.
Old school physical comedy. Yeah.
It's interesting that in the film, Casillo
I
is
mean, you
always
can clearly
like
see that
a
Otto is a
character.
real
Yeah.
clown.
Off.
Should have kept this in, I think, now.
This is great. This is total. Yeah, this is total Harpo territory.
We had lots of extras for this scene. On the corner of Kurfürstendamm and Bleibtreustraße, you see one of my favorite movie theaters in Berlin in the background, the Cinema Paris.
He runs across with his hand out trying to get a taxi too.
Just wants to feel it, man.
We were very concerned with the invisibility of the angels in the beginning, and this is a shot we tried. Double exposure to let Cassiel enter the showroom. This was a double exposure. This was a different way to deal with it. This was not double exposed. He's just trying to sneak in together with them.
I like how one of them is, oh, you can go through walls. And
Finally,
the
we didn't
the other
use
one
any
is
of
just
it.
like, he's like a little kid that has to be let in.
Yeah, let me in.
I found in the editing room later on that I was too preoccupied, or had been too preoccupied in the very beginning with all these problems of visibility or invisibility. And in the end, we didn't need any of it.
Yeah, nobody cares. Sorry, Vim.
I regret this scene, though. The old Kurt Bois, Homer, as he's called in the film, just studying the globe with his ever-present guardian angel, Cassiel, at his side. It was a lot of fun to shoot with Kurt. He was always ready to crack a joke. And there was no scene where he didn't somehow sneak in a little funny moment.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, Joe. Like he doesn't really get a chance to do as much of like the kind of funny stuff. So
Right.
it's a shame that that's classic Marx Brothers stuff for sure.
I love that Kurt Bois, that's just like the old man. I love that at one point on the set, like those deleted scenes, he just starts doing trust falls. And he just expects Otto Sander to catch him, which, like, looking at him, he's so fucking old that, you know, I'd be terrified that I was not going to get caught. And I was going to just fall back.
So a couple things with Kurt Bois. He was a child actor, and when I say child actor, I mean like he was born in 1907. So like he was a child actor during silent film era, and then also he was in Casablanca. He's the one that gives like the pickpocket speech, which is like, you know, very memorable if you've known Casablanca. And he's a renowned actor, fled Germany in World War II, made some American films, then came back afterwards. And yeah, there's a great featurette on the Criterion edition that it's like Wim Wenders' collection of like his early films, and it's just he's trying to like tell the thing, and Kurt Bois keeps interrupting him and trying to talk him into doing a comedy. It's like, have you ever done a comedy? Why don't you do a comedy? And then he's like, well, it's very serious, you know, so and so. And then he's like, why? Do you want to be in it? No, I'll be dead soon. which is funny. Like, holy crap, dude. But he actually did get to see the fall of the Berlin Wall, which, to be clear, this movie is before the fall of the Berlin Wall. So think of all the life that dude got to see. First of all, he's in one of the greatest movies of all time. The last film he's in was this one. Right? That in and of itself is amazing. Got to see the rise of the Nazi Party, fled Germany, came back, like had like a whole rest of a career, and then like lived in like East and West Germany and got to see the wall fall. Holy Jesus, jumping Christ.
My great-grandfather was Russian. And he basically climbed over the Berlin, like he got stabbed one time and just walked home like it was no big deal or whatever. He's like, I climbed the Berlin Wall. I can handle a little stabbing. Like, he was badass. It's just shame I never got the
light stabbing. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they say
I just think that's incredible because I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times, and I somehow never made the connection that he was that same dude.
So much
and then
life.
like. I was like, holy crap. Like, no wonder, like, Wim Wenders, like, you have to be in this. And he's like, all right, sure.
And,
what am I doing
the part he plays is representative, right? Like, it's literally, he is the embodiment of Berlin over this entire century. So for him to be like, you know, this master kind of almost metaphysical storyteller that, you know, comes across and is walking around bemoaning the fact that his audience is now gone and this new generation, you know, doesn't listen to his poetry the way they used to or whatever.
Yeah,
like
right,
for him for him to kind of be that character, he looks storied and he is storied, and for that, you know, for that role, I think he's perfect.
He's got stories all across his face. Right.
But yeah, I think it's really incredible that the Berlin Wall came down 2 years later, and you know, in the actual documentary where he's talking about making it, Wim Wenders is like, "Oh well, we never really thought that the wall was going to come down. Like, we just kind of thought that this was an ever-present thing." But it marks this movie so perfectly in a period of time that, you know, the wall isn't just there; it's kind of crumbling, it's graffitied, like, you know, the whole wall is just spray painted with shit by that point. Like, it's not the wall at its terrifying 60s peak or whatever, where it's like the wall was constructed and it's like this.
Just before David Hasselhoff showed up with his light bulb coat to tear it down.
And then my understanding is that they had to construct a set piece Berlin Wall, and like the contractor like stiffed them on like using like the correct materials the first time, and like it warped in the rain and they had to rebuild it, which is hilarious. Thank you.
What is that? Is that how they did the scenes where they're like, because like the scenes where the angels are talking to one another, and the scene where Damiel dies is like, you know, it's like Checkpoint Charlie-ish. It's like that sort of in between no man's land area.
Yeah, I don't know the exact scenes, but I can probably find out. But I just was reading up on banal minutia last night because, you know, the show isn't talkative enough. Filming. Oh, here's what it is. The filming of the actual Berlin Wall was prohibited. So a replica of the wall twice had to be built close to the original. The first fake wall warped in the rain because the contractor cheated the producers and built it from wood. Amazing.
Wow.
They also constructed an entire...
Yeah, put that in your resume. Fake Berlin Wall builder. Exactly.
They also constructed the entire circus. They actually like built the circus up from scratch, and then they have film of them taking down the entire circus. Like, but because everyone was kind of looking at the camera, they ended up not using any of the footage where they disassembled an entire circus.
Yeah, because you see them kind of like pulling up stakes and moving on to the next town, but you never see the actual disassembly.
I just realized something.
What's that, Kristina?
What? There are people out there that I cleaned for, and a lot of people, you can actually own a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Mm-hmm.
What if that's not the real Berlin Wall that all these people own a piece of? What is the fake ones?
The shitty one that like the contractor built?
Yeah.
How would you know the difference?
Wim Wenders is like, he's like, I needed to get my movie funded until the end of the world, so I just started selling fake pieces of the wall to all these Americans.
David Hasselhoff is on back to that.
But I mean, would you be more or less excited to have a piece of the Berlin Wall or a piece of the set of Wings of Desire?
Of Wings of Desire. I personally would be more excited about the latter. Yeah, that's a good point. This is, so speaking of Until the End of the World, which we really weren't, but we were talking about it earlier. This is Solveig's first movie. That's how you say her name, right? The prominent actress. Yeah. It's her first movie, and she's pretty freaking awesome in it. I mean, great, especially it's the Vibe movie. But what I didn't remember is that Chick Ortega's in it too. he's one of the dudes that's in the circus. It's like, oh, I was totally doing like the Leo thing. I was pointing.
Hey, so you know how much this movie he's in it too. But you know how much this movie cost like compared to City of Angels? This movie cost 2.5 million euros, which that cost $55 million to make.
Oof.
What a waste of money.
$5 million.
And how much did
It's not 22 and a half times as good?
Definitely. Well, for the producers of that picture, I'm sure they felt that was the case until they saw it.
Well, this movie, I mean, I don't think it's a project that, I mean, compared to something like Until the End of the World, like it's not a project that required as much like money and time invested into it. Like I find it kind of fascinating, more than anything else in this, that it's improvised to the point where like, most of the characters are just people that they filmed and they would add the voices to it. And like, they come up with like something for their thoughts to have, or, I mean, I'm sure some of the characters, some of the people they had pitched ideas about what they'd want to be saying on the bus or whatever.
Right. Well, and if I'm remembering correctly, the filming of it, like as Wenders, as they're filming it, Wenders is kind of like hollering at them what the person would be thinking or something like it.
Yeah. Like some rough, like that's the direction that, oh, you're worried about this today. Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Your word, you did not satisfy your wife last night. Can I get a?
Well, but some of that ends up working really well because you got someone like Solveig, like the whole like all her scenes with Bruno Ganz where like he can see her, she can't see him, but like feels him. No, not in a creepy way. That he's there and
in a bit of a creepy way. That's something.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not acknowledged anywhere, but there were some moments in this movie where I'm just like, these angels are kind of voyeurs.
Yeah,
there's like
exactly.
I mean, and there's this whole thing with this movie where there's a couple of things that go on with it. One, like man woman is treated as like the eternal archetype, and I'm like, wow, that's quaint.
Yeah, I guess that's a good. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, and then also there's this like it's clearly one of those films that it's clearly a film that was filmed prior to our our higher sensitivity about consent. Where it's like, this angel is, like in bed with this woman and she doesn't know he's there. And I mean, he's a spiritual being, sure, but he's like kind of touching her shoulder and she doesn't know he's doing it.
How many old religious?
Where I'm just kind of like,
How many like old religious paintings or something, right? Though, or like old murals, or like, I mean, because I haven't thought about this until saying this now, but like, or a lot of the depictions of angels, they're just kind of sitting, next to the person, touching them in bed with that, like, you know what I mean? Like they're always like, I don't even know exactly what the word is, like ministering, I guess, to them. And they're always in a physical position where they're touching them. And I wonder, I mean, I think that has something to do with it too. And it's not just about consent, it's about the spiritual, being spiritually touched. And I think a lot of the words about like spirituality and angels and God, God being inside of you and stuff like that, like spirituality, like flowing through you, like a lot of it is very tactile.
Right. Well, I mean, and then the like some of the old Christian mysticism, it verges on sexual ecstasy in the ways that they describe, like Saint Teresa of Avila and that kind of thing. But I think the transformation occurs when, Damiel now has a romantic interest in Marion and he's still there. And now he's like seeing her undress and he's like, stroking her shoulder and she's sort of aware of his presence, but sort of isn't. This is this kind of, it gets sort of ambiguous. I mean, then also there's that scene, which I think is kind of brilliant. And there's this great way where the language of that first conversation between Cecile and Damiel, and then the conversation between, well, more of a monologue while he's standing there watching her, at the bar when Marion speaks. There's all sorts of parallels there. I mean, the biggest one is the word ernst or seriousness, where Cecile is like, the way to be serious is to only observe, only document, only testify. And then she's using the same word at the end of the film and saying, now it has become serious. And for her, seriousness at that point means now this is intentional. Now I'm deciding. Now none of this is coincidence anymore. It's not, I lived this whole life of maybe neither this nor that, and now I'm deciding. And that's
the one at the bar at the after the Nick Cave, the Nick Cave show. Yeah.
Yeah, at the very end. Yeah, the sort of penultimate scene. And the really interesting thing there is when she's saying that, he goes in to make that same sort of like angel move where he's like listening at her, he's putting his ear next to her mouth, and the way he had been doing as an angel throughout, and so there's that parallel. I mean, that's sort of, for a movie that's unstructured, that's a really
there's a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
I also felt like they were kind of a representation of East and West Berlin.
Well, hold on. Forrest, hold on. Fräulein Kristina, was denken Sie? What do you think about that? As a woman that is allowed to talk once in a while on this show, what about what Joe said about, like the sort of like consenty kind of angel on human voyeurism?
Yeah, I was when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I mean, it would be nice to have a guardian angel, but I want them to like be aware that they cannot touch me or like be in bed with me. I mean, I'll be honest, like it's fucking creepy, but
yeah, one would think it wouldn't have to be explained to them as well, but hey, whatever.
They've been around for how many centuries or whatever, like
since the beginning of time.
Yes, they should know a thing or two about times changing and consent since they observe people. Do they not?
One would hope, yeah. But then you could say the same thing about most modern men.
I feel my father's presence every once in a while, and there are times where I'll be washing my clothes, and I go in that the clothes are done, and the washing machine's already open. I'm like, I did not open up that.
Ooh. See, Dad's helping with the wash. There you go. That's handy. That's useful. That's not like creeping on anybody. That's just
I couldn't see Damiel helping anyone with the wash.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is your dad doing anything right now? I got a load of laundry in the washer right now. I could use someone to put it in the dryer while we're doing this. It's a small load.
Yeah. I mean, but you feel that presence though, but it's just so weird that he's like.
Yeah.
So so from the overall question of, again, an angel, a creature that like has existed before humans themselves even were around. Yeah. Like what do you think? I mean, I think it's a beautiful movie, but I'm interested in your thoughts in it.
It's the one thing that I'm like, oh, about the film. I'm like, dude, like, come on, man. Like if the roles were reversed and it was a woman, they would be like, oh, hell yeah. And I'm like, no, it's so creepy if it was a woman doing that to a man. Like, come the fuck. Like,
she wouldn't do it. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like, yeah, like, boy, when a girl does it to a guy, but like reverse, it's like, it's creepy as fuck. And I'm like, double standards.
But it has that European romanticism attached to it where.
That's the only downside.
Yeah,
like, it's so romantic.
If he tried that on Star Trek, they would like phaser his ass.
Actually, wasn't there that one episode of Star Trek where
Dr. Crusher
and like a space ghost, not space ghost, ghost to coast, got it on?
Like a space ghost was like banging her where she was having like orgasms with the candle.
Yeah. Boy. Yeah, not every episode was a winner for that show. What were you gonna say, Joe?
I'm just like for me it's a sort of like it was the one way in which the film dated itself, where it was like this.
It's got that mid '80s sort of feel in that way. Yeah,
that was and interestingly, the way that it was treated as just obvious by everybody.
And imagine if John Hughes directed it, though. John Hughes' Wings of Desire.
Oh boy. Well, but in a certain way, it's a similar sort of. There is a similar sort of like. And this is the kind of like, there was a line in it where it was, I wrote it down. It was like, it's the eternal story, man and woman. There's this kind of like, this is the the pretension to high art and the assumption of certain things are eternal and unchanging, and one of those eternal and unchanging things is the story of man and woman. And okay,
how very 80s European
what
of you.
seemed to be eternal in the 80s has been now put under serious question for quite some time.
Yeah.
That whole scene though between them when he's finally human and they're talking at the bar, it felt like they were like physical manifestations of East and West Germany to me, and East and West Berlin, and they had the moment where they touched hands like this and they kind of put a wall between them almost.
That's a good point. I actually think about that.
And when he's like you, when she's like I belong in you or you belong in me and we're one and we're finally together. I was wondering if that was kind of like a literal representation of the city of Berlin and the fact that there's these two halves of the city that are that need to actually be joined back together. And not necessarily saying that he's saying, hey, let's knock the wall down right now, but like it feels like since this is a cityscape and it is he is trying to put his but he is trying to put his thoughts about Berlin. I mean, that's kind of exactly what he's doing. The angels, I think, are a big part of it is the fact that there's angel statues all over Berlin. They're on a lot of buildings, they're kind of looking down on everybody from condescending liberal angels looking down on everybody and
judging them.
But no, like all over the city, and he's like reading a lot of poetry about Berlin that is literally talking about angels that walk through the city and stuff. And I felt like that in that scene it was kind of a representation of the actual city of Berlin. And when she's like this is our time, we're now together, we have to go for it. I felt like maybe that was about making that city whole again. Because there's the whole scene where Castiel is in the taxi and he's talking about how every German now is their own state, and everyone pays a toll to talk to everyone else, and this transactionality of it. And I felt like the two halves joining together is kind of dispelling that.
Okay, there's definitely this sort of you've got the boundary between heaven and earth, the angels on one side, humans on the other. And then you're dealing with, and it's being filmed in a city that's defined by a boundary.
Yeah.
And that scene in the taxi cab is really interesting where he's like, and I'm just talking about borders. If you want to actually get in the interior, you need other passwords. And then he's like, fortunately, nobody knows those passwords, and I'm just like, oh, they do now.
Yeah, now exactly. You say that with great confidence, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's also very interesting. I mean, I feel like you can't get around East and West Germany at this time, right? You can't get around like that dividing line. So everything's going to kind of be informed by that in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's even the case. Well, it's the case for his earlier German movies, like not so much for when he was making films in America. Like I don't think there's nothing in Paris, Texas, like specifically with that or anything. But
I don't know that scene with the one-way glass.
Wow, you mean the best scene in the history of cinema? Yeah,
yeah.
I guess that's a good point. All right, comment redacted.
This is what I was talking about with the hands clasped that way in the shape of in a wall, and she's in red, as in like which is the color of like East Germany communism, you know what I mean? And he's kind of in this darker brown kind of old style, I guess, corny jacket. And I felt like it's kind of a physical representation of the actual city itself.
You might be right, although I do have to say I love how the when he becomes an ex-angel, suddenly no style.
Yeah.
No, like exactly. Like so first of all, okay. I can say this.
He has zero riz.
Zero style.
Yeah, like it's hilarious to me that first of all that this view keeps moving back to the view I hate, but like whatever. It's hilarious to me that like that whole scene of like he sells his armor too, right? He sells his armor, and then like Peter Falk, which by the way, we've not really gotten into at all. Because Peter Falk is in this movie as himself, as a spoiler alert for a movie from 1987, an ex-angel himself, which is incredible. Yeah. But But like, what's he like? You got took, kid, and then like basically tells a story of like how he got took as well, like which is so amazing because you got to think about. And again, that NPC scenario you mentioned, Forrest, where he like gets basically like a guy walks up, doot, and like he gets the money from the coffee from him, which by the way, he chugs. And it's like that coffee can't have been that fresh if he's chugging it.
Right.
I mean, he basically chugged like Andy just chugged that water or whatever that is. And like if that was hot coffee, first time I saw it, I almost expected him to be like, like,
he would have said and oh.
Would have said no. Yeah, you're right. But like that's such a nice moment because like you don't get a lot of the mechanics of like you would go through a large portion of this movie thinking that Peter Falk's just it's Peter Falk's in this film. That's crazy. And then he's like, I can see you, Right. And it's so amazing.
I can't see you, but I know you're there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he says. Yeah, right. And then Columbo is like this incredibly huge figure in like all of Europe to the point that there's like this crazy it was during like some was it Serbian conflict? I can't remember, where they had Peter Falk do like a PSA for people to like put down their arms because like, oh well, they'll listen if it's from you. And he's like, what? You kidding me? Like which is so amazing. But that's how popular he was in Europe as this like iconic figure in the way that when we have talked about some of these silent films and things along those lines and how they have this universal appeal to people that don't speak English, like there's some things that just get over. And the character of Columbo, like Solovog's character, like salutes him, like, see you later, Lieutenant. Like everyone knows who he is. And then there's that great scene of like the kids, like, was that Columbo? He's like, no, he couldn't possibly be. Not Columbo. Not in that jacket. Yeah. But I love that that's like one of Bruno Gantz's character's adjustment period is like, a game recognized game of like, oh wait, this guy did this already. Let's talk to him. Did you get some money? Right. Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, but you got took. For that
there are lots. Oh, there are lots of us.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a weird drop too, because it's like halfway through the movie that you're like, oh, that changes everything.
Well, I had a bunch of questions that it kind of emerged with because one question I had is when he's like if you are saying that there's lots of the angels that are like ex-angels that are kind of wandering around, and another part of the movie he says, oh, there's not enough of us anymore, meaning that like they've been mass quitting for a while. But like there's the one time where he's
quiet
like
quitting heaven, I guess, like sure, whatever.
There's this one time where he's behind a Japanese woman or a Chinese woman. I don't like, but then he hears her thoughts, but they're in Japanese or Chinese or something like he.
So it'd have to be like a Japanese angel, and they don't have the concept of angels in Japanese culture. Which that's something that one of the actors was like when it premiered in Japan, like everyone was like, oh, like, are you real? Like, because like it was such a bizarre concept for them because they don't have that as part of their predominant religions. They have spirits, but they don't have angels.
Ghost. Woo.
Yeah, exactly. And ghost, where ghost doesn't mean what it means in Western culture.
Yeah.
This is one of my questions that
Andy's like, I want to get in on this. I'm sure, but he's frozen right now apparently.
But no, one of the questions that it came up with for me is like how many languages does each angel get to speak? Like, because Berlin is
you think they would have time to learn them? I mean, they literally were there for the origination. What are they doing?
There are so many different German dialects too. You got the Swiss German, High German, Low German, this German, that German. Like people are surprised. I'm like, no, there's different variations of German. And my sister learned that when she went to Europe a few years ago. She's like, it's German, but it's not the same. I'm like, if you had taken
everybody
German
talks
and not
way
Spanish,
too fast. Yeah, everybody talks way too fast.
German and not Spanish, sis, you would know this.
Yeah,
but
maybe
Spanish is the same way though. Like the type of Spanish that they speak in like the Basque region, like they have their own, pretty much their own language. Or like different parts of Spain speak Spanish incredibly differently.
Yeah, well, hell, from like Puerto Rico. Like I had a friend from Puerto Rico who thought it'd be like, oh, let me take Spanish, easy A, and then realize
a lot of Americans learn either Spanish like from Spain, or they learn like the more Mexican dialect, I guess, of Spanish.
But look, if you're a non-English speaking as your first language person, and you come to America and you talk to someone from Boston, and you talk to someone from like Mississippi, and you talk to someone from California, like especially if they're speaking very fast, you might get lost as well. I mean, it's a dialect thing. So maybe these angels are like to certain areas. Maybe these are like this, These are look exactly
When you
what
do.
who's talking.
Yeah.
Maybe these angels have only been stationed in Berlin for like all of the course of humanity. Because remember, they do talk about like, oh yeah, remember when this was like, a bank and like these animals died and yada yada blah 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 blah. They know all this history about Berlin even before there was a Berlin. Maybe they just get, that's their area. That's their zone.
Well, and they even talk about Napoleon getting chased out of Berlin on like the roads and like the Roman roads. Like they go through like an entire history lesson of the city of Berlin.
Speaking of, if John Hughes had directed this film, wouldn't you say that the angels are the eyes and ears of this whole institution?
Podcasting?
No, I'm talking about. It's a quote from the Breakfast Club. Come on now.
Angels.
I'm sure Andy's thinking all the angels right now.
Angel dust, baby.
What is the John Hughes Pretty in White or Pretty in Gray? I guess you could say, because it's everyone's
problematic. Pretty in White's a different movie entirely.
Now I'm imagining the like scene in Breakfast Club where they're all in the detention room. But like, Bruno Gans hanging out over on the
it's like a workplace comedy, but it's angels. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Workplace comedy, but make it angelic.
Right.
Yeah, and replace the weed with cocaine, and then you got your Pretty in White.
That scene with Bender getting more and more detention would hit differently. He's like, he's like, that's it. That's 1,000 more years on Earth, friend, or whatever. And he's like, you want another 1,000? Here, let me give you another 1,000. That's another 1,000.
It almost seems like that statue is their like angelic water cooler. They're just sitting around just BSing, like looking at everything. Why not?
By the way, there were female angels in the original cut of this. Like he had a woman that was walking around, and you see her quickly in the library, but like she played a bigger role. In the actual thing, and then they just didn't use any of the footage of her.
I thought there was several like where because you would like they'd be walking by and then there'd just be somebody sitting there and kind of like look up at them knowingly. I thought there was a couple of female characters who were like angels with their little
in the library. Well, in the library, like when he walked through, there were like a whole bunch of them. There were like 10 different people in there that all were standing next to someone, and they looked up knowingly, and like after a second you registered like, oh yeah, that's supposed to be an angel too. Like that's an angel.
Look at those black coat. They're Matrix angels.
But like that's that one scene, but they had a bunch of other
They're shooting in slow motion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We had a bunch of other scenes with Cassiel and some woman that was running around with them doing the same angel things, but then he didn't end up cutting any of that together, I guess.
Well, the guy's not afraid of a long runtime, as we've established until the end of the world. But what would it have added to the story? Really, it's just like, oh, there's more angels like doing stuff.
I mean, 2023 also wants to know why these angels are gendered.
Right, exactly. Well, I
decided to make some of the angels non-binary.
Just make them all non-binary. That'd be great.
That would definitely piss off Matt Walsh, who definitely did not get his SIM card hacked.
All right, I don't want to talk about Matt Walsh. I want to talk about Wings of
I would literally have to try hard to not care less about that.
The one other sort of like interesting structural thing. Did you notice that the speech that Peter Falk gives Damiel?
Mm-hmm.
When you first see it, it seems like, oh, this is this interaction that he's having for the first time. But then he does the exact same speech.
He's got like some lines. He like has like his like intro speech that he does, right?
You get the sense that he's done this a number of times.
Exactly.
Just one more thing. I can sense the angel here. No,
Dolly Parton probably gives the same speech because she's a former angel.
He's just kind of flying around trying to get more angels to quit.
Right,
he's
exactly.
He's like it's all a secret labor movie.
I would
actually,
be like, yo, your halo's a little tilted, a little slanted, and it ain't up. Maybe you're not cut out for this. I would be that angel.
I do think that is interesting though. That he's clearly. Maybe like he does like the hand outstretch. He does the like the whole thing is like he's got a thing that he says.
He's got a thing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the difference is like Cassiel doesn't take his hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which again, one of the things about that deleted scene of like him doing all I literally almost said Karl Marx stuff. He was not doing Karl Marx stuff. He was doing Harpo Marx stuff. Thank you.
We established that Peter Falk was doing the Karl Marx.
The racism. Yeah, let's go.
Is that like
the surplus value of angels?
Right. But he's like,
it's actually a great song title right there.
Yeah, it's good to say. You got to write a new record already. Yeah, there you go. Keep that. Is that he's kind of the more serious angel of the two of them? Like they're both pretty serious, but like he's definitely like he's a different kind of voyeur than Bruno Gantz's angel. To be sure,
right. I mean, and that was the thing I was saying earlier, where like Gantz's character already seems like there's several scenes where he is actively like consoling somebody,
right?
And you see like that moment where it's like the guy on the train who's like, you know, bemoaning that his wife betrayed him and his friends don't live near him, and then they're like, and then he like gives the, you know, he goes in for the angel hug and he's like, oh, mama was right, you know. And then there's the one where the guy was like in the motorcycle accident and, you know, he started like, that one was really interesting because, you know, he's saying consoling things in his ear, and then the guy starts repeating them as he's dying.
Yeah, that is interesting because I mean,
and it's just it's a very random list of words
stuff like that.
So I feel like
one time he dies with the guy who was intending to commit suicide.
He's like Mississippi Delta. There's a baby crying. Like it's just a list of like.
Yeah, it's a strange, you know, it's like a strange set of mantras. Yeah. I'm sure there's something.
I think my guess is that it was all things that the guy would find comforting, like whatever, you know, thinking about like the water and the Mississippi Delta, but that's like that's all the way across the Atlantic.
Yeah, I think I blocked out most of the memories of the American attempted remake, but I feel like that would be like the center of the movie for like a real style American remake of like, oh, how do they get shepherd them into like the next world, you know? And it's like, it's barely a blip on the radar.
What the American remake's about is that's Nicolas Cage's job in the movie is to shepherd people into the next world.
Of course it is, because that's all anyone gives a shit about, right?
Yeah.
So.
Were they touched?
And then he sees a big, beautiful American flag, and he goes, "Ah, man, I wish I was an American." And he, you know, he decides to become
That's
an
why
angel.
he became human. Yes.
And he joins the U.S. military. They send him to Baghdad.
And then he killed somebody after he gets back and goes to prison. And as they fly him back on a plane,
it's a prequel. Yeah, exactly. It's a prequel to Con Air.
And then he prays, and he has his Shawshank Redemption.
Honestly, it explains some of the cinematography in Con Air. But anyway, whatever.
That came out in 1998. Jesus.
Yeah, so I think that but the Peter Falk, who, by the way, there's a lot of great hat discourse coming from Peter Falk in this movie.
Oh yeah, Columbo doesn't wear a hat,
and I appreciate.
Oh man, I forgot to wear a hat.
I appreciate that Wim Wenders brought him in because he wanted someone recognizable, but also he didn't want it to be like so super serious, because it is so super serious in like so many ways. And Falk is fantastic as a dramatic actor, but obviously there's like a low key funniness about like a lot of, you know, him doing the Columbo thing. And I love personally that the first thing Peter Falk said, oh yeah, Cassavetes used to work that way, about like the whole thing of like, you know, having large section of it be improvised and like going off of prompts and things like that. Because of course he did. I mean, like, look at like, you know, what is it, Husbands, and you know, like Mikey and Nicky, which is technically Lane May, not Cassavetes, but like Woman Under the Influence, right? And of course we talked about that.
I saw that a couple months ago, and
so good.
It was so bizarre watching Peter Falk play an abusive husband.
Yeah, because he kind of low key sucks.
Peter Falk, but he's unhinged and he's angry and he's like on the verge of violence all the time. And I'm like, this is Peter Falk.
He's yelling at his wife. He's yelling at his mom. He's yelling at, you know, the mystery can't be solved. It's just too much.
Well, if you think, all right, I think you're trying to play a clip for us. There's other ones that he's even worse. Let's put it that way.
This is him talking about casting.
Mikey and Nicky is another great one, and we've we talked about that with Matthew Film Guy. But it definitely, like, he's a great actor. He just basically like became typecast in a way. Okay, there's worse things in life than being known for a beloved character like the world around that has brought joy to people, right? But he was typecast. But there's worse things that did happen.
And I think he embraced the typecasting to a certain degree because I've seen things like, you know, Peter Falk as Peter Falk emceeing Hollywood events, and it's the Columbo persona. You know, it's like
sure.
You know, I mean,
just one more thing. It's time to dance. Yeah.
Well, he's doing. I mean, and he's doing it here too.
That sounds way more like Al Pacino than.
All right, whatever. I'm not a professional impressionist. I just do the comedy.
I'm gonna solve a mystery.
Oh yeah. Do you want me to bust chops next time you attempt an impression? Because I will do it. It will be merciless. But anyway,
Everybody does.
Play the clip.
Now, with costumes, I'll tell you what you worry about. The hat. The hat is the most difficult thing.
How about trying that? For Christ's sakes, get me a good hat here, will you?
First of all, there's a lot of shots in the movies that come from here up. So who cares about your shoes? They don't care. And your pants and all that, sometimes even a coat. But from here up, that's where the money is.
We were already 2 or 3 weeks into the shoot when I realized there was something missing. And I realized it was some sort of more comical figure who wouldn't take himself so seriously. I had the feeling everything was too serious. These angels took themselves too seriously. And somehow the film needed some intrusion into this world. My assistant Claire Denis and me, we had this glorious idea to add the character of a former angel. Somebody who had gone through what Damian was about to go through. And the more I thought about it, the more I figured it better be somebody very famous, because the idea of a former angel would be so much more convincing or so much more thrilling if it was something that we all knew.
The Columbo character was, I mean, everybody knew him. Everybody knew him. And just one more thing, and where's your raincoat? It was fantastic. The German people connect with that character. Maybe that's why Wim thought of it, you know. I guess they have such an affection for that character. They're so interested in him that he would be a good ex-angel.
And there was some tenderness in him and something very convincing, a friendliness and a gentleness in his whole persona that I figured would translate his being a former angel really well.
Ex-angel? I heard of ex-convicts. I heard of ex-wives. I never heard of an ex-angel.
And he said, this is the craziest thing they've ever been offered. And you have no script? I said, no, we have no script. When do you need me?
Maybe he loved Wim and he wanted to take part in this kind of experience and developing something, not knowing exactly before what. And I think he liked this way to do this film.
When he came, he was Columbo. And when he went after 3 weeks, he was a friend of mine.
I'm your friend.
He started as Columbo.
One might say he's an American friend. Thank you.
He's another Wim Wenders movie for those of you who don't get the joke.
Right. I only do my jokes for the Criterion Collection audience. Sorry.
He started off as Columbo. He ended up as my friend.
But you know, that's a big deal for them. Like he's a big deal in not just Germany, like in Europe. You know.
I mean, there's the way in which he's a big deal, but there's also the way in which I can't imagine Peter Falk wouldn't be one of the most fun people to hang out with.
Apparently he left around like another week after filming just in case there was something else to do because he loved hanging out in Berlin so much, which is hard relatable, frankly. It's like, that sounds great. Yeah. And then hilariously, they didn't have anything for him to do, but then later on they're like, hey, we want you to do some voiceover for like when you're on the plane and stuff. Like until like way later, like before, like almost before the final cut of the film. And like he did it in his studio, and that's where like the whole thing on the plane where he's talking about his grandma, which of course angels wouldn't have a grandma. Yeah. Right. I have a theory for that, which is that the grandma in question is just like someone that obviously was not related to him, but someone that adopted that figure in his life after he became a human. So thank you. And Wim Wenders, just PayPal me, Conan at neutron-x.com.
Because Vim was just like, yeah, it's a screw up.
He totally did.
We're not gonna like, well, we're gonna tell Peter Falk no.
We all need an Oma.
Exactly. Andy, you were gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna add that American Friend is on my Criterion challenge too.
There you go. So if you want to fulfill Andy's Criterion challenge, then I guess we should cover that one also. All the
yes.
I love that they have him drawing throughout Peter Falk doing like his art,
which is what he really does.
Yeah.
Oh, does he really? Oh,
yeah. No, when he was on sets, that was because there's like long times while they're like setting up shots. He might not be in it, but he's on call. Whatever. He'll just sit around, draw people, draw like self portraits, just whatever he wants. And his sketches are just so lively. Like I love them. There's so much energy to them.
He's just like you for real.
Yeah.
Peter Falk drawings. Wow, look at that. Nice. I'm learning all kinds of stuff on this show.
I love the voiceover. I love the when the angel's there and he's drawing and you hear in his head, this drawing is terrible.
Oh no!
Oh my god! That literally is me every single time I'm drawing.
I also like in his head when he's like, maybe someday I'll do a good drawing. And
yeah. It's like got that internal. I mean, look, anybody who's an artist can certainly identify with that.
Well, and the woman,
the old woman,
maybe he'll give it to me, and he's
going, yeah. That's what the old woman is just like. It's like, oh, maybe he will give me some drawing, and he's like, this drawing sucks. This is a terrible drawing, but she's got such interesting nostrils.
Yeah, there's a dramatic nostril there.
The dramatic nostril. Yeah, exactly. I'd say you chose it as your nickname. You have to opine on it. It's the law.
Yes. No, that's just like such a great, because like that's what I'm always thinking whenever I'm drawing people. It's like, I'll focus in on like a particular feature of them, but trying to get it to look like them. And sometimes dramatic nostril.
I think we need an angel of the internet to fix Andy's internet connection.
That sounded like 10 seconds of somebody playing Pong.
It's fine.
It was.
It sounded like RoboCop dying is what it sounded like.
So anyway,
wait. So a line that I wanted to talk about. But while we're on the scene, a line that I wanted to talk about is the guy that's dressed up as a Nazi. For the movie that because he's in the movie where it's
some movie about Nazis or like at least like he's
a Columbo like figure that's a private detective that gets hired to go to Germany during World War II or right after and hunt down the person's family, like brother and their son or something, and then the brother's dead.
Sums up the plot in the movie, which is hilarious because he clearly doesn't think that much of it at the same time. But he's like, whatever, I'm here,
They bring me it's a detective story.
I love the line though where it's the guy who's dressed as a Nazi and he's like, the Nazis knew fashion. They had a good fashion sense.
Right. Like, Kanye, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's a little too timely, right? Yeah, I mean that whole and that set, like it looks like an interesting film. Like they've got like the production design looks amazing, But I love that like that's not a huge plot point. It's just literally why Peter Falk is there, and then he's like sketching this survivor who's an actual survivor as an extra, which is like kind of like wow.
He's an extra. These people are extras, extra people.
Yeah, that's that. I love that line. I think that's
I thought like a bit of the editing that was really amazing to me was that taxi ride where he then sees then he sees like a World War II scene kind of superimposed. And then, it's like this, you can tell because it's like the way that found footage from World War II was kind of used in the movie, like spliced in here and there. And then as he's driving up, like these scenes of actual World War II Nazis coalesce into like, now it's very similar looking, but it's these actors.
And I'm not completely sure about this, but the way that this was edited in the at least in the documentary, it seems like the found footage kind of stuff that they had of the Holocaust was also used in their Kurt Bois documentary. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
I would love to see that documentary because, like I said, just that little 2-minute teaser with like him basically not allowing Wim Wenders to say the thing that they want him to say for like the collection is hilarious. It's like they're. I would watch a comedy movie that's Wim Wenders and Kurt Bois. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that any such thing exists as established canonically by that 2-minute short, but.
Did you guys know that the last scene in this is a pie fight that they shot between the angels and I guess
I guess they took the note from Kurt Bois seriously. Hey, you know this film should end a pie fight.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Dr. Strangelove?
Yeah. You can't fight in here. It's the war room. What were you saying, Kristina? I was sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying. I was about to say food fight.
Yeah.
Nothing like a good pie in the face.
I say it all the time. It'll really class up the film. Wow. All right. Did it like? Is that a deleted scene then? Like what?
Or was it just like them funning around afterwards?
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
All right, there he is. All right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's got to be just like
pie fight, and I finally get to do it.
Classic.
That didn't survive.
Yeah, that rocks. I'm not gonna lie. That should be a gift for this show.
Oh my God.
Both of those should be gifts for this show. That like anytime someone gets ganged up on.
Yeah, the material looks pretty abused, as you see. It's been lying on the. It's
They're having a good time, regardless.
And the last pie, the one that wasn't used so far, in the end was also used, with Otto sitting right into it. The flash that you saw there was actually my DP. No, that was myself. It is not. This is Henri Alecon, who walked into the shot at the end because he loved the scene, and he threw a leftover piece of pie into.
She hit him with a piece of pie.
You see, it was getting totally.
I feel like
That's what you get from shooting.
they announced there's a new edition of this film that Criterion just put out on Blu-ray. Like they upscaled it to like UHD. What's the thing that's supposed to be above 4K?
Yeah,
but they did like
6K.
Sure. They updated.
They just keep adding Ks. They're like,
screw everything. We're doing 5K. Yeah. That's it. That's a deep cut Onion reference, by the way. But they.
I don't even remember where I got this cheetah.
Right. But like, it's interesting because like I remember I saw this before the first restoral, and it's sort of like there was like a sepia tone. Kind of to this. Joe, Andy, Andy, you hadn't seen it before, right?
No. I watched it years ago.
Did you remember like it being kind of sepia, like more sepia than black and white, or am I just inventing this?
I don't have a clear memory of that.
God damn it!
So this is the story of how that happened.
What good are you? No kidding.
This is the story of
the
why
pie fight.
It was sepia. No, why it was sepia tone.
Oh wow! Oh gee, I was setting you up and I didn't even know it. That's professional of me. Yeah, Jesus.
In the old times when you have film, every evening you see what we call the rushes of the last day. You shoot your film during the day, then the lab develops it, and the next day they produce the rushes, which is the first print from the camera negative. The camera negative is the original negative that runs through the camera. So the next evening you would see, because there was no video output or anything in these cameras, you would have to wait until the next day to see what you did. So the next evening, Henri Alecon, the master of black and white, who shot this film, 80 years he was when he did it, we went late at night to the lab and saw what we did the other day. And we all saw it in the second generation of the film, which is the first print, negative first print. And it looked fantastic. All of it in black and white looked gorgeous. And at the lab, they still knew how to do black and white, and Henri was very, very happy. Eventually, we shot color elements to the film, especially for the ending. Henri was still happy, but not so happy because he would have liked to go on in black and white because that was his world. Color was new, but he did well. And even the Nick Cave concert shot by an 80-year-old man didn't look so bad. And eventually Henri had to come back because we had to make the print. By then I knew the tough story I had to tell him. Dear Henri, the beauty of your rushes is down the drain. What we saw together will never exist on the screen again. Because in order to make a print where you have elements in black and white shot on black and white negative and color shot on color negative, in order to get that together and have distribution prints, it came down to 6 generations removed. Original negative, first print, a duplicate negative, the next generation separated black and white and color because it's a long story. It has to do with the special effects we did and all of that. Anyway, the very first print, combined print that was shown when the film was first released, and every print afterwards in the world was 6 generations removed from the original camera negative. 6 generations removed from the beauty of Henri's work, from the resolution, from the sharp black and white. And anybody of you who have seen it before saw it with tints. There was sepia tints and red tints and blue tints in all the black and white sequences because you cannot print from color negative, and you cannot make a film where you do parts of it in black and white, print in black and white, and part in color. You had to print the whole thing on color negative. And Henri, when he slowly understood the consequences, was really deeply disturbed because his black and white was gone and it was now always tinted. It had a little slight tint. And ever since the film was seen like this for more than 20 years, with these tints, and everybody thought that was meant, that's this way. Only I knew it wasn't meant like this. That was the technical consequence of the stupid idea of shooting in balls in color and blue, black and white.
Total and complete vindication. I knew it. Because I remember it being like sepia tone, and then I was like, did I just invent that?
Now this brings up questions about Tokyo Drifter, which we did a while ago. Because remember, like they shot a whole sequence in black and white because they just happened to have like a canister of black and white film that was going to go bad, so they just used it. And you know, like how did that look? You know, are we seeing like just the remastered black and white?
Well, it's what makes that movie iconic. What's make that movie like, you know, something like sought after, but maybe it wasn't the original vision. Who knows? Happy accident.
I have questions.
It's a happy little tree, happy little jitter. Yeah.
So how would the restoration? So there was a restoration where they.
So when you see the black and white parts, the black and white had a color twin to it. It was sort of like again, I can only describe it as being like the sepia tone filter that you use on like Instagram or whatever these days.
So, but what changed? So what changed that allowed them to not have it be that way now?
Maybe that's in the next part of the clip. You're on mute, Forrest.
Yeah, probably because it's digital now and not necessarily all
digital restored or something. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Do you know, Forrest?
But I think it's not the original black and white that they shot it in, right? Like you can restore something and change around the hues on it, but it's still, I think, tinted. I mean, at least according to, because that's from the BFI, like when they released it as like a 4K release or whatever. Like that's a pretty recent conversation that they had.
But not as recent as this newer version, the 4K UHD that apparently is like a different restoral.
Okay.
Right, exactly. It's all new.
Days.
But yeah, that's fascinating because again, I just assumed that like with the sort of storybook fairy tale sort of feel of it, that it was an aesthetic decision to have it be like look like it was like from the 1920s or something, you know. And like I was like, oh, that's it. But then you see the scene at the end where you see like she's doing like the what do you call it? With the you're on the rope and you're doing the stuff and you're going around like that, like
The
she's doing that
trapeze.
stuff. Yeah, and Bruno Gantz is sitting there and helping her do it, and then you see his angel buddy like lamping on the stairway, but he's black and white.
Yeah, that's interesting that's like the one time you see them combined in the entire film.
And we saw the thing of it earlier where it showed the like the halftone, the angels like sometimes looking like they were only half there, like half dissolved. I'm kind of glad that wasn't throughout the whole movie. Like I think that's like the typical choice that you would do to like show that someone's an otherworldly figure, and I think that takes away from it.
The interesting thing is the two times that happens is when Damiel interacts with a physical object. And I found it really fascinating because there's the one where he's in the library and he picks up a pen.
Yeah, and you see like the ghost pen
holding a spiritual instance of the pen, but the pen that he picks up is still there. And I mean, and that was also like that's a moment in that film where it messes him up because he's like holding it and looks at it and he's like sitting down and then he does this crucifixion pose in the chair. And and then Casil's looking on at him going, man, you're and then the other time is when he's in Marion's trailer and he picks up a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's carrying that rock around with him in the scene right before he quote unquote dies.
Right.
Because you see him sitting there like this with that rock as he's talking about, becoming human in the scene right before he does. Like the one where that great scene where the camera pans away and then pans back. And he's being,
I think in Japan, they kind of got the rock spirit idea. They're like, we get that. Like,
that we understand. The rest of this, not so much. Yeah.
I love how there's like a spiritual instance of every material object.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the brave little toaster, doesn't it?
I think it is like our conversation about consent earlier and this movie. It's interesting that he like comes to her in a dream for that one sequence really fast.
It's a strange way. The idea of like this sort of familiarity, unfamiliarity. It's like when they meet at the bar, she clearly knows who he is.
Right. Yeah, there's a visual familiarity, not just like I know your spirit, I know your vibes, like however you want to describe it, like.
And she also seeks out Peter Falk, seemingly with the understanding that maybe he can help as Columbo, I guess.
So what I love. So that's a great observation for us because I think you could argue that on some subconscious level she might understand it because he's like a former angel, but like the conscious level is he's like the most famous detective in Europe, right? Where it's and like this cultural icon, and like he's just sitting there at the food truck, and like maybe he can help me, But
like
she doesn't have any information. That's a great scene. It's like, all right, so you don't know like what he looks like, you don't know what his age is. All right, we're doing great, Like
it's like you hunt down Benedict Cumberbatch, and you're like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everyone just. Their most famous role is like what they're best at. You can get James Doohan, he can fix any engin, right? Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes, I'm looking for somebody on Tinder. Can you
the mystery of the one night stand. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe Doctor Strange can help.
Right, exactly. Maybe you need magic. I don't know what you're up to. Yeah,
you do a spell for you.
I can just.
Eye of Agamotto's been used for more flippant things. I saw the Spider-Man movie.
A Spider-Man movie?
No, the Spider-Man movie where the joke is Peter Parker uses it for the college admission stuff.
I know.
You of all people should get that. Jesus, jumping Christ.
I do. I'm just teasing you.
All right.
We're having fun here.
We're having fun. We're having a blast.
Hey, you know what's fun?
What's that, Forrest?
Oh, damn, I was trying to I was trying to get your.
It was a great setup. Yeah.
Well, hang here.
I know. I have a lot of fun.
Busting Conan's chops.
Apparently, yeah. It's a historic pastime. No, Letterboxd. That's a fun site. You know, it's a site where you can. Are you familiar, Joe Cannon? Do you know Letterboxd? Have I talked about Letterboxd at all?
No, not a lot.
Well, it's a social media site for film lovers. They get to talk with and to each other about about the films they love, the films they didn't love, the films they were weirdly thirsty for. The films that maybe they violated some consent laws by sitting too close to. Who knows? But all of this, of course, it's not just for the Siskel's and Eberts of the world. Everyone gets to have their say. Everyone gets to chime in. Everyone gets to have their observations, throw it out there, work on their tight five in front of the brick wall of the Comedy Store, whatever works for you. These, in fact... Well, it's for a bit we do. It's called Letterboxd One-Liners. So these are the Letterboxd One-Liners for Wings of Desire.
Which
I feel like I threw you off a little bit with my trying to.
I couldn't tell if you were ready or not. That's why I was filibustering. I wouldn't want to hear my thoughts if I were me.
Yo, me and Kristina are angels. By the way.
You guys are. That's awesome. I love it.
Wait, Kristina, do it again. Do it again. All right.
I thought this one was. Sometimes it's a swing and a miss. I guess. I know. I thought I liked it. I'll never look at Columbo the same way again. Yeah.
I mean, I still will. You know, but maybe as an angel. You know,
I'm just built different.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't think he did anything that is like out of character in this movie.
I mean, it's a movie about Nazis, but like it doesn't appear to be a Nazi, so that's good.
Did not see that coming.
Turning my thoughts into poetry, just in case a German man with a tiny ponytail is listening.
When a child was a child, he didn't know he was a child.
That is a good point. Wait, go back. That's a good point because I don't know about y'all, but yeah, my thoughts are not always so articulate and poetic. Let's put it that way.
No, yeah, I remember one time, driving along, thinking like, "Oh my God, it's a Triceratops. I hope it doesn't ram me." That's
a spinoff, the Prestige Disney Plus series that I want to see, which is Wings of Desire, but Andy is the principal character, and they're just following like whatever he's up to, his antics. It's comedy.
I feel like these days though, with the Wings of Desire, a lot of the thoughts are just angels having to listen to like how horny you are scrolling online. You're just like people are like I wonder.
Kurt Bloss said he wanted Wim Wenders to do a comedy, right? Great.
Like he has scrolled like 6 different apps tonight. And looked at girls he kind of vaguely knows. Like maybe we should do an intervention, an angel.
Put him in horny jail. All right, moving on. What the film doesn't explicitly state is that the best part about becoming human is losing that anthropology professor ponytail.
Yeah,
it's true.
I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I forgot about the ponytails until I saw this. Like I was like, they do have those little ponytails. That's really bizarre.
I was watching something about it that apparently it was like this coy like gesture towards the samurai costume and it was supposed to sort of identify them as having like a duty that they were adhering to.
The duty was not fashion, apparently, because that looked terrible.
Yeah.
In this case, the duty is working for the NSA.
He said
I
duty.
think the duty was more like looking like a Die Hard villain.
Award for worst jacket in cinema goes to Damiel at the end of this movie. It's not a great jacket.
No.
And he's all hyped. He like trades his fucking armor to get that jacket. Like, because I was watching the deleted scenes and Wim Wenders is like, yes, he traded his armor so he could get this snazzy coat.
So he could look like a cut rate Doctor Who ripoff. Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
he looks like Danny DeVito in like Matilda or whatever, where he's like the car salesman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like this. I do like this idea of Tom Baker's Tom Baker's wastoid cousin.
this is
Colin Baker.
Exactly. Hey.
Wait,
not actually related. They're not related.
No.
Let the record show. Snap. Correction. I wish I could smoke and drink coffee with Peter Falk.
At the same time.
Also tag Dream Blunt rotation.
Nice.
I do love that line though, when he's like, smoking and having a coffee at the same time. He's like, it's one of the all-time great things that you miss out when you're angel or whatever.
Like the movie Coffee and Cigarettes by Jim Jarmusch outlines in multiple skits.
Yeah.
It's
We're all angels,
literally
I mean.
about that. Yeah.
I wonder if Bill Murray is an angel that.
That's a great film. I mean, I love all Jim Jarmusch, but that's a great film. I would give my left tit to be able to go to a Nick Cave show in the 80s. Like my whole left titty. I am not kidding.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm a huge fan, but man, the whole titty? Maybe half of it. Maybe a little titty.
I mean, like personally, I'd love to see that tour where he brought the piano out on stage to do that Elvis song at the end of every night. I cry every night.
Yeah, it's a 1,000-mile walk in the desert for an ice cream cone, my friend. Imagine being such a simp you give up immortality. Shaking my head.
Is it like the first? I wonder if it's the first woman he's been horny
That's
for,
Kristina's
too.
disapproving look on this right there.
But like, I wonder if it's like the first woman that he's been horny for too, because he's been there since the beginning of time, and he's seen lots of women.
What has he been doing this whole time? You never know.
Apparently, yeah, I don't know.
Pocket pussies, fleshlights, the whole thing.
Wait, it's the outline of a pocket pussy and the outline of a fleshlight.
It's the spectral version of those things.
Yeah.
Angels are alive and well and can always be found at Nick Cave concerts.
True.
This is known.
And they're living in Germany.
That's true.
As apparently
I was watching
Nick
Austin
Cave.
City Limits, that performance he did, and there's just angels everywhere.
Well, apparently
true.
Nick Cave was living in in Germany during this time.
He was. Whole Bad Seeds were actually. Oh, that's another notable thing. I know I'm supposed to be getting my own bit on this. One of like the rockers in like that deleted scene is Roland S. Howard of The Birthday Party. Birthday Party is Nick Cave and Mick Harvey's first band. At this point,
who was in Crime in the City Solution at that point?
He's in which is the other band that's in here, and Roland S. Howard is playing guitar for them. So that's notable in a number of ways, especially for like my people, my nerds. That it's Roland S. Howard, one of my favorite guitar players of all time, by the way.
Did you see my tag on my review of the movie?
I saw you misspelled two different tags. If that's what you're at.
There's more misspelled.
You misspelled nostril and you misspelled Roland S. Howard. It's ROWLAND. That's more excusable than nostril.
Okay.
Anyway, we regret the error. Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Wings of Desire. Please, 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 please follow the show. That's the Peter Falk hat salesman. Oh, the smaller box is killing me. Right over there, he's the show. Movie Night Extra. Yeah. Movie Night Extra is that way. So follow him. He's the show. I am the former angel, Conan Neutron. I'm all over that biz, following the highbrow, the midbrow, populist fare, all the good stuff that's in between. Follow me along for the Criterion Challenge if you dare. Andy sure is. He's knocking them off left and right with all our choices lately. Ich spreche Deutsch over there. Kristina Oaks, she's on Letterboxd, but she never posts. So maybe if you'll be your friend, maybe if you follow, engage with this queen the way that she needs to be, she will start posting again on it. Who knows?
Don't worry, I got some lined up for the Barbie movie.
All right, I believe you. I love that it's Oppenheimer and Barbie same night, right?
Did you see the poster of the Barbie with the Barbie poster mixed with the Oppenheimer like
the
bomb?
mashup?
It was so good.
I did not, but I can picture it.
There was somebody like dueling headlines. I guess one of them was like Barbie bombs as Oppenheimer rises or something, and the other one was Oppenheimer nukes.
He's just Ken or something like that.
No, it's like Oppenheimer nukes Barbie movie ticket sales.
They just have these pre-written and ready to go, like a good headline writer. Anyway, Joe Cannon, we've established you're not on Letterboxd. You barely know what it is, but if you were, I would tell them to follow you on there. J. Andrew, Dramatic Nostril World. He spelled it right there. You're not the City of Angels, but you are the guy that does the plugs. So let's hear those plugs, please. Thank you very much. Take it away.
All right. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, please do those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and watch the video to the end. It's a big act, I know, but it helps other movie fans find us, and you get to hear a great Conan Neutron song.
You do. Written exclusively for the show and remixed for 2023.
Yes.
Meaning I actually mixed it this time.
you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Pick your poison, whichever one like best, or whichever apps you happen to be on. Please follow us. We're trying to meet you where you're at.
Yes, just like we're trying to meet your internet connection where it's at, so you can hopefully complete this bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're not interrupting you.
It's not great.
Okay.
It's not. I'm gonna kick it to Kristina bad, but it's not great.
Okay. Yeah, we have a Patreon. So please find us on Patreon. Patreon.com movie night extravaganza. The thing about helping us supporting us on Patreon is that you get access to our after parties forever.
Whenever we have them.
Whenever we have them, which hasn't been for a while now.
Yeah.
Next week when Andy Kidler comes on, we'll have an after party.
I could do an after party tonight. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I could go either way on it. I do have a bottle of wine within reach of me
with your name on it.
It's exactly. Yeah, it's right here. But yeah, you can. Andy's right. There's a lot of cool stuff in the after party sometimes, and there's always a lot of nonsense as well. So if you think
It's our
this shows,
fun half.
it is indeed fun and funny.
Come for the intelligent bits. Stay for nonsense.
Stay for the abject nonsense and the bits. Yeah.
Yes.
There's the intelligent bits and there's just the bits. Much like just the solos.
Yes. Which, speaking of which, that's Joe Cannon
What a segue.
and your Fraction Chief.
Yes.
Which you can get over at.
just acknowledging it. Yeah. That's
Well,
right.
I didn't know there was more coming.
Yeah.
No,
Actionchief.bandcamp.com. Yeah.
There we go. I don't have that written down for some reason. I got the Neutron Friends on bandcamp.com.
Let's go to that instead.
Which you can also go there and get some Conan Neutron music. Is Joe on any of the albums?
No.
Okay. He's just like
Which doesn't mean he can't
like,
be in the future. I mean,
No.
there hasn't. Like, look, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't expect me to put on the spot like this. Jesus.
I wasn't in LA that weekend.
Yeah. Exactly. It's the only other people. There's a few people that have done like guest guitar, but it hasn't been something that traditionally we've done. But you can usually see Joe Cannon at the live shows. He plays a lot of them when he's not playing with his own band.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, there is some live shows coming up too.
There are. We're playing New York the last Wednesday of the month, pre-Caterwall. And we got a show in Chicago with Biggin. That's June 10th, if I remember correctly. We have a Louisville show. We have two of them, but we have a Louisville show that's it's the 31st. And then there's other stuff that I can't quite speak about just yet. But
And of course, Caterwall.
Of course, Caterwall. Yeah. Here we go. Look at this. Look at how prepared I am.
Bam.
Which you can actually see both Conan and both times.
Joe Cannon is who he's talking about. He's talking about Joe Cannon, folks. Yeah, in both Action Chief and Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Additionally, Joe is playing two other times in the incredible Resurrectionists, who are playing on Monday, and the Incredible Delicious Monsters, who are also playing on Saturday.
Yes.
And
I did not realize. Wow.
Yep.
You can OD on Joe Cannon at this festival, folks. So
I'm only playing twice. Joe Cannon's playing 4 times. So there you go. But yeah, caterwall.org. If you're thinking about going and you're watching this stream, tickets go up tomorrow because we are announcing that the surprise secret band is Flipper with Shannon Selberg of The Cows. And the ticket prices are going up. So if you didn't prepare accordingly, I don't know what to tell you. You've been hearing these plugs for forever. So, but yeah.
Exciting.
So that's Caterwall.
Yes, and I think there's an episode of Flipper on Protonic Reversal too.
Yep, Steve Topachi's on. There's an episode of Protonic, and you'd have to look in the archives for that. I just had Mike Moraski of Silpo Bathtub on. That was great. Damien from McCluskey and St. Pierre Snake Invasion was a weekend special. I'm having the boys in Elephant Rifle on this week who are playing Caterwaul as well. It's actually going to be almost all Caterwaul guests for the coming Thursdays, except for Dave Lombardo of Slayer, which is next week.
Wow,
which is like,
yeah,
you make room for that. You leave room for the Lord and Dave Lombardo. These are the rules. But yeah. So I think that's all my stuff. We should mention maybe the reason why Joe's here is the Resurrectionist record. Now that we're all
which I was going to get to, yes, because it's a fantastic record. Called
Cover Stars right there.
Oh yeah. They're big. They have big clock rock energy. Here, point it out again, Joe. There you go. That's the wrong way. Yeah.
Mirrors.
Yes. Star of at least one of the videos.
It's in like a lot of them.
It's
actually.
in three of the videos, and then like coyly referenced in several of the others.
Yeah. If I would have known, I would have thrown in the one I did for y'all, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
it showed up in the three videos that Brian made for us because
but you couldn't fit it in the pool. Like, let's be fair, that
we did not put it in the pool. We probably
going to be the same afterwards. Yeah,
oh.
Gotta give it some water wings.
Clock in the pool. Got a clock in the pool.
This is a non-clock now. This is a clock-shaped object.
It developed quite the attitude after starring in so many videos. It's got a real entitlement complex.
It doesn't deign to clock anymore.
But why is it notable, Joe? Is there something notable about all these videos?
That there's one for every song on the record.
Goddamn right.
Yeah. So on the April 23rd, there's going to be the inaugural Resurrectionist Film Fest for Milwaukee residents. That's at Cactus Club. And,
for everyone else, fuck off.
Yeah, right. I mean, or fly to Milwaukee.
You can drive in. You
start driving now. You can make it.
Exactly.
Beep beep.
And that event you're gonna have like you show all the videos, and there's other work by the different directors and stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a good time. And a lot of bands say they're gonna make a video for every song on the record. I think this may be the first time I've seen someone actually do it. I said it, by the way, and I got through like 4 out of 12.
I mean, it didn't hurt that it took for goddamn ever to get this record finished.
I know.
So we could be like, putzing around with the videos during the, 8,000 years it took us to record it, and the 6,000 years it took. So angelic time. So this
you guys are doing this on the same time limit as Bruno Ganz.
It's like Bruno Ganz is like, man, are you ever going to be finished with this?
This is the record in question.
That's the look right there.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Rockstar.
Here's the cover star.
Yeah, the Clock Rock. This is now that we're all ghosts. You can get it on Bandcamp. It's on other stuff too.
Ghosts. Now that we're all ghosts, is that a reference to finally finishing the record after all that time?
No, it could be, but it's not.
No, but he was clean shaven before.
There was a time.
Get it? Because he's got a beard.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
And I just got to say, if you enjoyed the music from Wings of Desire, definitely check out the Resurrectionists. So
right. We don't have an 8-piece choir, but
it's legit.
Yeah,
and copies still available.
Yes.
You can get it on vinyl, you can get it on CD, you can get it digitally,
Yes, those three things you can do.
So there you go. You have your one last call to action too is check out Kristina's Twitch channel.
Mm-hmm.
She's far livelier than she is on this show.
It's
less somnambulant.
I went very manic after I streamed
After
last
Dark.
night. Yeah. I went very manic last night after I streamed and like reorganized. Like I might do it after later, but whatever. I'm just manic at this point. But check out my Twitch channel.
People are doing it more and more. You got a bunch of new subscribers recently, so people are catching up.
I gained like 40 subs. That Young Turks raid me, so that's cool. Good. Whatever.
And when she says subs, she means subscriptions, not like a dominatrix thing.
Whatever. Though people do call me mom now, so I gotta Dommy mommy. But also too, we this 420, we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Backstreet Boys. Yes, they've been around that long. Yes, I love them. Fuck off. But
is that really the thing you celebrate on 420?
It's not what people normally celebrate on 420.
I love
birthday, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, a
They
birthday party
literally
for Hitler.
signed
I
their
guess, is worse
contract on
than-
April 20th, 1993. So we're celebrating that.
Must have been
people-
high.
I mean, seriously, they must have.
Flavor Flav comment. Check out my new album, Flavor
Flav
Flav and the Bad Clocks.
Bringing that big clock rock energy, the Resurrectionists.
Somebody's trying to take my throne.
Yeah, it's
Clock
always
rock throne.
It's Flavor Flav, you know.
I mean, okay.
He's got a claim. He wears one.
He is the OG clock rocker.
Yeah, exactly.
He sees
What else,
you as a
Kristina?
public enemy.
Well, I'm also hoping that we go over
Great hat!
the history of marijuana, perhaps on 420 as well, or you know, it just depends.
What's that? The history of marijuana? Oh, it grew in the ground.
Yes.
Film at 11.
Someone's trying out things that they can smoke, and they're like.
Well, actually, I think
"What
Barry
about-"
Sarian did a dark history about marijuana, how it was like worshipped and it was a good thing, but then you know, white folks were like, black people smoke it, bad, and whatever. So there's a lot of racism about that. Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Joe narking out this cat. You thought you were a buddy cat. You were just grist for the comedy mill, friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have very fun, chill times on stream. People like
The Cat
that.
Street Boys.
The Cat Street.
That's good. That's good. So if you're into any of that, go tune into Kristina this Thursday, I guess, for 420.
Yes.
If you're too high to click on it, I don't know what to tell you.
It'll be fun.
Well, just have it ready to go on the link. You know, the night
Yeah,
before.
just keep that browser tuned.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you want to help Kristina, you know, celebrate
let her hack.
420 better, she has a coffee, so buy her a joint.
Yes, that'd be
Doesn't
cool.
quite work.
That does work. I mean, also, let her hack wants to come on the
Depends on your-
podcast.
Depends on the state you're
very
in for the legality.
badly. So I
Let her
mean,
hack's great. Yeah.
I'm calling all of us out. We gotta get them on one of these days.
Well, now that Letter Hack has drawn me, it's okay.
And the shadow ban is lifted.
The shadow ban has now been lifted. Yeah, you're welcome to be on the show, Letter Hack. Thank you.
He literally lives like less than 2 hours away from me. We can like bring him here and he could do the podcast for here with us.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, we did that before with me.
It's terrible.
Well, not there. But
It was not good at all.
it was terrible.
It was the worst time either of them have been on the show. No offense, peace and love, but
Well, it's because
He has to draw
the chemicals that leak out of Andy's basement. You know, it's not always a good time.
it does look
It
less
make-
like a prison now, Andy. You really zazz it up. So
Just shut up.
All right. Well,
It was the return of the brick wall. So
yeah, that's fine.
you know, starting with Joe, you got any final thoughts on this movie or anything we didn't get to or?
Oh, there was plenty, but let me.
We'll sum it up succinctly and quickly. Thank you.
I got nothing. We didn't get to talk about Shine, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Is that when Angel says, "Go and get your shine box"?
No,
And
it's
the
when
other-
he says when he goes through this whole thing. It's like this is pretense. The word he's actually using is shine, which in
Oh.
German means a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, there are a couple, not lost in translation, but sort of like, that's not exactly what that is.
Right. Well, and there are
moments in
these
this.
big culturally important words in German
Yeah.
that don't have the same cultural importance in English. So shine means shining. It means appearance. It means perception. And it also means like sham, fake, pretense. It means all of these things that the word, pretense doesn't really capture.
All right, so that makes a lot more sense than the pretense thing, because that was a little bit. I'm like, is pretense really the word? Like, oh, I'm showing up on a pretense to try out this food and drink.
It'd be something like, well, it's like we do it in its mere appearance. We do it in its mere appearance. And that's what makes Casil say the only way for us to be serious is to not try to interact with the human world at all, just to observe and witness and testify. That's where that at the end of the movie, the way the word ernst, seriousness, reoccurs and is transformed by Marion's take on it That's what that sort of like conceptual bookends. I wasn't gonna nerd, but then I nerded.
Yeah, these seem like perfectly succinct final thoughts to me. I think you nailed it, buddy. Can I also just say is what you're talking about too with this film? It's one of the reasons why The Adventures of Baron Munchausen has never been really turned into a great movie. But I can tell you, having read it in English and in German, it does lose something in translation. That one especially, that work especially, is like really profound in German, and like something's just kind of lost when it's put in English. So. Another example. Thank you.
Yeah. Kristina, final thoughts? Not about angel consent.
Why did they have to make an American remake of this film? That's all I have to say. That's my final thought.
I guess they thought it would make money, probably.
This film was perfect. I don't understand why we don't have to remake all films in English. My God. Especially ones with Nick Cage in it.
American Tate reading. We should get Nick Cage in there.
Apparently, I think Vim got some money for selling the rights to a remake. So
yeah,
okay. Well,
he's basically the credit for the screenplay.
So maybe some of that maybe some of that garbage funded some really good stuff of Vim's later.
I also think what you were saying about angels not having to try with this movie. The thing that works about it is that they didn't really try. Right, like they didn't construct a script and try to say something profound. They just kind of went along with it and like improvised, and that's what makes this movie so profound in the end. So I feel like not trying would have been better for the Nick Cage one, which might be what he's known for a lot of times, but not in this way.
Yeah.
Conan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is an incredibly beautiful and creative film about the power of connection with others and what it means to be human, and it's told through a pair of angels observing humanity and their many thoughts and lives and joys and tragedies, and it's all a couple years before the Berlin Wall falls, which is momentous in of itself. It's deeply poetic, it's full of longing, life affirmation. It's practically a fairy tale, and I like that it somehow ends up being one of the most deeply original movies of all time because of that. Like questions like, what is it to be human? What's it like to live, to love, to connect, stuff like that. I love it. Again, Until the End of the World, I feel is his best art, but this is my favorite movie that Wim Wenders did, and I really was stoked to cover it.
And I hope you made some money to make that movie, off this movie.
Right. You're doing what with it?
Andy,
flying all around the world. 20-hour cut. Yeah. Exactly.
Remember how the last movie did not have a script and we just kind of went through Berlin? Yeah, this movie is going to be the opposite of that.
I gotta say, one of my favorite things about this movie is the aesthetics, trying to capture that like 1920s Frick Lang kind of thing with the angel wings fading away, just like small moments like that use like the actual wings of the statues as symbol, visual symbols of like whose angel. It's truly spectacular. I'm just like really thinking about not just showing the city, but showing it in a way that gives you not just a much deeper and richer understanding of Berlin.
I definitely feel like I understand Berlin more now. Watched it. So next week we're gonna have Andy Kindler on to talk about Barbara and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
A wild change-up that only could happen in the pantheon of this show.
Yeah. Well, we have a week to switch tracks.
Yeah, it's fine.
So
Joe, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Be great to have you.
And I guess I'll just say, no thanks. I just watch.